Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. Today I'm going to do another review, and it is of another reproduction. I picked it up when I went to the Midwest Gaming Classic, so if you've seen that video, you already know what game this is. But if you haven't, here's a little backstory. So I'm a huge fan of the property which this game is based on. I have been since I was young. One of my first movie memories is of seeing the first film in this series with my parents. My parents are big fans of this franchise, and it passed over to me. And to this day, I'm still a super huge fan of it. I've seen all the movies in the theater, every single one of them, some of them multiple times. One of my goals is to collect every console game made based on this franchise, and I'm almost there. But there was one game made based on this franchise that was never released, and I found it at the Midwest Gaming Classic. I found a repro of it sitting there, and I said, God damn, I've always wanted that. Now is the time to add it to the collection. And I did. And the hoops I had to jump through to make it a complete copy were kind of a pain in the ass. That game is Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. I'm a huge Trekker, whatever you want to call it. Trek fan, that's what I say. So getting a game that was never released based on the property is awesome for me. Sad thing is, the movie that it's based on is shit.
Oh, no, he didn't.
But whatever. Doesn't mean the game's going to be bad, does it? So the game is completely finished. It was planned to be released alongside the movie in 1989. The movie bombed. It bombed hard. It was predicted to be one of the biggest movies of the summer, and it was one of the ones that bombed the hardest. For good reason, because the movie is not good. The budget was slashed while they were making it. A bunch of ideas to help make the movie make sense were dropped because of the budget. Industrial Light and Magic had done all the effects for parts 2, 3, and 4, and you would think they would have come back for part 5, but they were also out of the price range for the new budget. William Shatner was directing, and he had never directed anything of this scale before. He thought that because Leonard Nimoy was able to transition into a director so well, he could do it too, right? No. The plot was stupid. It was just badly made. I mean, everything about it just looked cheap and fake. Special effects are some of the worst I've ever seen. I mean, the stuff that was on TV at the time looked better than what was in this movie. Acting is terrible. There are some character moments that are cool, but wait a minute. This is not a critique on the movie. That's what it's turning into, right? No, this is supposed to be about this game. So the game was supposed to be released when the movie came out, but because the movie bombed, Bandai said, it cost us money to get the license of Star Trek V, but the game actually didn't cost all that much money to develop. So let's just cut our losses and not release it because no one's going to want to play it in video game form. So they just let it sit on a shelf and it collected dust. Eventually the ROM did get out. Is this game any good? Well, first let's talk about it. So the game basically follows the plot of the movie. The Enterprise is hijacked by the leader of a crazy religious cult, a Vulcan named Sybok, who, spoiler alert, turns out to be Spock's half-brother, which made no sense. Anyway, he wants to take the Enterprise to the center of the universe to meet God. There are 4 levels, 3 of which are side-scrolling platformer action levels. One is a Wing Commander-esque space shooter. The first level, you play as Sulu. You're making your way to Paradise City on the Nimbus 3 prison planet, and your only weapon is a phaser, which you can upgrade. If you collect certain icons, your weapon will be able to shoot further and is stronger. You can take out more powerful enemies with one blast instead of like the 2 or 3 that it usually takes. Second level, you play as Scotty, and you're making your way through a turbolift shaft going to different levels of the Enterprise, looking for bombs to blow a hole in a wall on the other side of the brig where Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are being held. The third level is the shooter level where you play as, I guess you're playing as Chekhov, and you're taking out asteroids, and eventually you'll come across the Klingon bird of prey that's been stalking you. And once you defeat that, you move on to Shakari, and that leads you to the 4th level where you play as Kirk, finally, running around on the surface, and the final boss is God, which looks nothing like the one in the movie, but whatever. But is the game any good? I'm gonna say no. You can tell this game was just rushed through production just to meet the deadline of the movie's release. There's only 4 levels. They are really short. You can beat this game in about 25 minutes. The graphics kind of suck. The first level especially. The graphics in the other levels are fine. They're serviceable. The problem is in the first level, a lot of the enemies blend into the backgrounds, especially these mortar cannons. You can never really see where they are, and their projectiles kind of blend in, so you can never really dodge them. So you take a lot of damage, and you die a lot. All the characters kind of look the same. I mean, they could have at least made Scotty look fat like he did in the movie.
I'm not fat. I'm big boned.
The music is annoying. The sound effects suck. The controls are very imprecise. The jumps are really floaty. It feels like there's a delay to when you're moving around. Like if you want to turn, it doesn't feel right. Like it feels unfinished. Plus the enemies' attack patterns are really erratic and kind of crazy. There's no real pattern to learn. So you just end up taking nothing but hits. And the health icons are few and far between. So if you get a few of them in the first level, you're lucky. The bosses in this game are terrible. The boss for the first level is just a bunch of the enemies you've been fighting the whole level. Just there's more of them. It's dumb. Why couldn't it be like that crazy cat lady that attacked Kirk in the bar? That would have made sense, right? The second level is just exploring. There's enemies to take out and all that, but because of the cramped corridors, the enemies can't get as much air as they did in the first level, which was completely open. So they're easier to kill this time around. But it does look like the Enterprise. It does look like the inside of the Enterprise. It does fit the aesthetic of the show and the movies. The third level, which is the 3D shooting level, is really bad. It's like some low-rent version of Wing Commander. It's kind of broken. It doesn't work. And the last level where you're on Shakari, it doesn't really look like the movie because everything on the movie was like purple, which I thought would have been kind of cool in the game. But, you know, it is an easy level because there aren't any enemies running around. It's just like you have to avoid falling rocks and shit like that. And then the boss at the end, which is, you know, the god, looks like this floating skull, and it's easy to kill too. And then the ending is just... Hey, guess what? One screen. Game over. Congratulations. It would have been nice to have some cutscenes in between each level that actually showed the plot of the movie playing out, even though the plot was stupid. It would have been nice to see, like, Cybok sacrifice himself at the end like he did in the movie, or, like, Spock talking about how this is his half-brother, and all that kind of stuff. It's just, you get, like, a couple of little talking heads just to tell you what's going on in the next level, and that's it. There's just nothing, no real effort put behind anything in it. Like I said, the controls are bad, the graphics are bad, the levels are just not designed well. It doesn't really take advantage of the license is the biggest problem. And Bandai did not pick the best movie to make a game out of. Part 6, oh yeah, there was a lot you could have developed into a game. Not Part 5, I mean, it's just... But there's still more they could have done. There are still more levels. There could have been the whole shuttlecraft scene from the movie. You know, trying to pilot the shuttlecraft into the Enterprise's docking bay while you've got a Klingon ship trying to kill you. That could have been cool. It could have been a warm-up for the 3D shooting level that comes later on. There could have been the rock climbing thing from the beginning of the movie. That could have been fun. It could have been just a nice little diversion to get you used to the controls before you start shooting at things. But no, they just basically took the easy way out and just threw a game together out of a license that they really didn't understand. It is not a good game, and it does not surprise me that it was shelved. The best thing in the game, when the ship goes to warp. And that's it. But at the same time, as much as I've ragged on this game, the fact remains that it's a Star Trek game. And I love me some Star Trek. So I'm willing to give it a little bit of a pass. No, don't get me wrong. There are Star Trek games out there that are absolute trash. This is one of them, but I mean, there are some things in this game that worked. I like the fact that you're not always playing as Kirk. I like the fact that you start off as Sulu and then you get to play as Scotty. You know, you get to pilot the Enterprise at one point. That's kind of cool. You don't get to do that in every Star Trek game. So I like the fact that it focuses on all the other characters within the cast instead of just being like, hey, guess what? You know, Kirk is the lead. That's what you're going to get. It would have been cool to play as Spock or old-ass McCoy walking around going, hey, I'm a doctor, not a sharpshooter. There are worse Star Trek games out there, but I give Star Trek V: The Final Frontier a 2 out of 5. There are some cool things in it, but there aren't many. It's a huge missed opportunity. It honestly feels like a game that LJN would have released. It was just kind of like a half-assed attempt at making something based on a movie that was not good to begin with. It was just shat out to make some money, but it never got released, so there was no money to be made. At least it's out there now, and people have the ability to play it. Star Trek V might not be a good game, but like I said, when it comes to games based on movies, I treat them as collector's pieces since I'm such a huge movie fan. And since I'm a Star Trek geek, doubly so. This game was never released, but I have it in my collection. That's rad. But for a casual gamer who's looking for a reproduction game to play now that they've gone through the entire library of Nintendo games that were officially released, there are way better games you could get than this. So that's my review. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel, since the button is right there staring at you, smack you in your face. Please comment below, and I'm still planning on doing that Q&A episode in the near future. So if you have any questions you want me to answer on camera in a future episode, leave them in the comment section below. But getting back on topic, have you played Star Trek V: The Final Frontier? Do you like it? Do you think it is poop? Let me know. What other reproductions are out there that I need to get my hands on as soon as possible? What other ones do you want to see me review? Comment, comment, comment. Please share the video on the social media, and please give the video a thumbs up. That way I know that you are enjoying yourself. So until next time, I am Chris, the old-ass retro gamer, signing off. Your God is a lie!